We have an Oscar-nominated, Emmy Award-winning legend. He's standing right behind the curtain. He has worked with everyone from Spielberg to Scorsese and has lost count of his award-winning performances, mainly because of all the fingers he cut off in his last movie. Please let him be my friend. Would you welcome Mr. Brendan Gleeson? Good evening.
Good evening.
Good to see you.
That's nice.
Yeah. Clearly a moment there, Brendan, where they walked out and they went, "This can't be real," and then they realised it was actually real, and you got the full love. How are you keeping?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just had a flashback to when there was nobody in the audience, and it's really nice, isn't it, to be able to be in a crowded room with a crowd of lovely people. Yeah.
There is nothing like an audience, Brendan, who have been drinking from 4 o'clock nights for their big night out here the late. I mentioned Banshees in the intro there.
Yeah.
Now on the Leaving Cert. Big news, eh?
Well, you know, I've been there before with Cockamillish.
Yeah?
Yeah. It was on the Irish thing, a short film, Cockamillish, that I made in, I don't know, years ago, where I was stuffing my face with cake for rather too long, in my opinion.
How does this compare?
No, I'm delighted the Banshees is on because, you know, for a start, just getting all the... for me, it's about stuff that comes from, you know, the mother lode of inspiration that is this country and its cultural history and stuff like that. And then the kind of genius that Martin McDonagh has with regard to plumbing those depths for something that has more meaning, and then the kind of genius ability to be able to tell a story. It's just like people don't get it really who slightly feel uncomfortable with the telling of it, because it's like a reflection on saying, that doesn't happen, and that's fine, you know, you paid your money and you take your choice. But for me, his genius is about tapping into the idea. I didn't think anybody could put Sheila Fritton up, you know, in a thing and have the idea of a banshee sitting there without really ever exploring. You kind of say, there is no real answer. Like, with what I think I'm getting at is that with the Leaving Cert now, there's so many things that people got from Banshees, and some people resisted it a lot. So I think it's going to be fantastically controversial, and I think it'll be very interesting to see. For me, it's about storytelling and pushing the boundaries of human experience. Like everything in film or everything in a play or everything, like when Singh did it years ago, and expanded the poetry in people's language. It wasn't done true, and it wasn't completely true either. It was an artistic exploration of what was possible, and so you get in there and you like, Martin writes such funny lines.
About such dark stuff.
About such dark stuff, but he throws it together, but there's always something intensely intensely integrated about the way he's telling this story. He's very economic with what he puts down, and I remember saying before, like, he'll take a comma and he'll say, you know, 3 dots there for a reason. There's kind of a little, and then as he came on, he just kind of threw some of that out, and I just think he's a fantastic storyteller, and he's not afraid of the mythic, and he's not afraid of the large exaggeration. I mean, if you read about Finn McCool, that's the way people told stories here. There was always fibs and tall tales.
In an Irish story.
Yeah, I mean, one finger would have been enough, let's face it.
Yeah. He's. I mean, I remember talking to him at the premiere for Pillowman.
Yeah.
In London, and it's that thing of he takes certain things, pushes them to where people think they can go, and then he takes them that wee bit further, and that's what just sets them apart.
Yeah, no,
the journey of Banshees and the phenomena that turned into, and 1 minute you're out in the west of Ireland filming that, and then the next minute you're on the red carpet in Los Angeles. I mean, what was that whole experience like?
Well, it was great. Like, I ended up going to things like getting tugged out, you know, to go to the Oscars and stuff. And there's a woman there telling me how she had a relationship like that where she had to kind of leave somebody away, but felt really sorry about doing it. And then this discussion is going on. And that's, to me, like, we would have known Martin is major stuff now. We know what we've known for years. It's not, we weren't over in the Aran Islands thinking it could have been a small story and received like that. But there's always something universally sort of worth exploring with Martin. I wasn't surprised that it took off in a way. But the fact that what was brilliant about it was the amount of people it reached. And you have a woman in a kind of fashion store in LA where I'm not used to being, and she's chatting as if it was a next door neighbour about how this had affected and how she kind of could see both sides of it and all that.
And that's how you know when something has just got into the zeitgeist, don't you?
Exactly. And Cillian was saying, like, Cillian, like, what a treat he is. How proud can you be of Cillian?
Do you think he's going to get the job done?
I don't really care. I don't really care, honestly. It's one thing I learnt about that whole procedure. It always sounds, if you don't win one, that there's some sort of sour grapes. It's completely the opposite. Myself and Colin went to the Oscars and had a brilliant time because we were looking at this and thousands more of all of these creative forces in the one room. And it was extraordinary. It just was, we had a brilliant night in it. And a lot of the time you can feel half your soul is gone because you've been told you're losing or something. And we got through all that in a brilliant way. And like, I dropped Cillian a note and just said, look, they can't take this one away from him. The nomination is the thing. After that, it's showbiz. And whatever happens, it'd be brilliant if he wins. But it's not, to me, it's not the yardstick. To me, it's fantastic what's happening now. And it's just the nature of him as an artist, as an Irish artist who's exploring things, and Paul Mescal, and Barry Keoghan, and Andrew Scott, and Saoirse Ronan, and Jessie Buckley, all these fantastic people bringing all this heft to artistic exploration in film. It's absolutely wonderful. It really is.
Yeah. And, you know, people sometimes need giant shoulders to stand on, and you're their shoulders. So, you know, it's always
well,
about
I stood on Gabriel Byrne's shoulders very particularly because he was the first one, really, himself and Liam, and of my generation, or slightly, you know, preceded me, because I hadn't gone full-time or anything like that. But looking at him and the way he conducted himself, the way I just thought he was the business. And he showed it could be done. You know, he went and, you know... so I did find people like Tony Doyle, and you remember people, I was very heartened that when you go into people who've been there before you, and it was something I said about becoming an actor, like, there was a real feeling of, they were glad to see you coming. And all the talk about all this knife in the back stuff like that, there was a real feeling of people nurturing. Tony Doyle certainly did, would have, you know, just given small little hints as you come up the road. And Cillian would have done it to Donal. Or, you know, it continues. It just
continues.
It does, yeah.
We got to talk about Hughes. As you're a man that's told many's a story, and I know this one is very close to your heart.
Yeah.
Tell us about this new doc that's in the Dublin Film Festival.
Well, it is close to my heart, which is why it gets difficult not to ramble down rabbit holes when I'm talking about it. Basically, Hughes's was a pub that was just a mad place, in the sanest way possible, and there was a kind of a wildness about even the day in it, because I remember going in there in the 70s. There was a connection with the markets, and I used to go in to meet a friend of mine in there. And like, what used to happen, it used to open at 7 o'clock, and all the market crowd would be in.
So it was an early house to start with?
Early house to start off with, like Slattery's and a whole load of pile of people all around those markets. So there was people who were finishing their day's work that night. You know, there were people coming in, putting the vegetable markets in. And then, then they'd clear off, and the courts would open, and you'd have lawyers and judges and everybody, and criminals, and would-be criminals, and innocent people, and adversaries in Hughes's for lunch. And the clientele was mad in terms of just its diversity of background, culture, everything. And then the music would start.
Yeah.
The music, all these musicians would come in, and it became a mecca for what is really, for me, it's just pure balm for my soul, and was for 30 years and 35 odd years. And it closed. Martin decided to close it. So Liam O'Connor, who runs the Irish Traditional Music Archive, asked me to do something. He was trying to spread it across into other people in different branches of the arts and what their relationship with the music is. And so we got into Hughes's for 5 days to shoot with Kieran O'Wainig, who's an extraordinary director and finds a way, who's a brilliant musician himself, knows how to get into the soul of a session. I always wondered, how on earth can you shoot a session properly from the inside? And Kieran knows how to do it. He did it with loads of people, Shane Malek and TG Carr. And he found like people like Alec Finn and Steve Cooney, that would be outside people who came in and were part of a music scene. He found a way of expressing them in a way that was absolutely beautiful. So basically, the archive, I just kind of felt there's no record of it.
We've got a tiny wee bit. We've got a tiny wee bit of Crack August Joel here. This is, I think, a bit of a conga line here. This is, there we go. I'm not sure what year this is, but it gives you, there we go, out of the jacks with the conga.
Yeah.
Bit of set dancing stuck in the middle. And this just magically, every night there was a different session and somebody else had a different session in a different snug. And
well, the documentary we went to first of all to mark it, which is beside the market. We wanted to mark its passing. It really felt like it was an institution. On a personal level, I really felt a little bit cut adrift in the sense that that's it. But also,
was it somewhere that you could go and because of the music not have to be you?
Well, it was better than that. It was like I could go to the music and sit down, and Mary Corcoran and Roma Casey and the various people would sort of have a place in the back where I wouldn't necessarily be in the front line of just the normal curiosity. But it was the fact that you could go home, your head would be wrecked after being away, and you go in there, and it was an odd way of just having your spirit filled and
rejuvenated,
just calmed. And then, like, I often went in there really shredded, and invariably I said, I don't want to go in, and knackered, and I come out and I was exhilarated by it. There's something about being on the inside of the tunes, and what we tried to do in the documentary was to find a way of showing that to people who aren't quite. It was a pub that was hiding in plain sight in a way. It was right beside the forecourts. And what was going on in it was extraordinary. Like Sean McGinley talks on it about some of the artistic experience he had were the most profound of his life in that pub. So you had this amazing sort of thing that could happen. And Martin Hughes talks about, sometimes there's nothing, sometimes it's ordinary, and then sometimes there's magic. But you have to be there to allow the magic to happen. So you suddenly had a patience about the way that you're going about things. You're delighted to see people. It seems to draw, the whole music community seems to draw a particular type of spiritually generous person. And it's an art form that I think is like the pub, where it's hiding in plain sight. We see some manifestations of it that are what they are. And then some on the inside, and it took me years to find out because I came from the outside, there's a kind of a beauty and a spiritual enrichment and an exploration, and also a way of making the world slightly make sense. Joe Cooley said, is like, it brings people to their senses, but it also allows you to leave. It allows you there's no conversation necessary. I used to go in there and my head was, as they say, my head was a feck. And you'd go in and just the music of itself and the power and the actual skill of these people, and I'm hoping we're going to see something sort of fairly soon.
We are.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking over here
right.
at some of these amazing people that we've managed to get together
it's
tonight.
Brilliant.
This is the good news, that we've actually managed to get some of the players that used to play in Hughes's. They're going to play. The even better news is that this man is going to join them and also going to play. So,
I always said that I was what we call scutting on the back of a truck, is where you jump on the back of a truck and you get a little bit of a hoosh up the road a little bit. I've been scutting on the truck of traditional music for years. So I was glad to be able to go in here and just kind of front the telling of the story of Hughes, because traditional music to me is just waiting for people, if you go with humility and an understanding of what's actually possible. And that's why I asked the lads, which is unnatural for a session, I know I'm going a bit, but I asked them, could they just isolate and play a slow air in the pipes? You need to get into a room with the pipes to understand what they are and the emotional sort of depth of them. And then to allow the fiddle to play on its own, Liam O'Connor is the man who started all this kind of off. He's a virtuoso fiddle player. Sorry, Liam. But there you go. And just take the time to listen. And then we'll play a few tunes with all these people who became my great friends over 30 years.
Brilliant.
So thanks,
OK, brilliant, Brendan. Go get yourself sorted there.
Thanks,
Thank you so much.
Sorry for going on so long.
No. Here, there's your mic.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
Watch that there. OK, Brendan Gleeson's Farewell to Hugheses has its world premiere at the Dublin International Film Festival on the 1st of March. It opens in selected cinemas, including the Lighthouse, from the 2nd of March. So, are we ready, folks? Here we go. Take it away. Thank you, Brendan, and the Sunday sessioners. Well played, guys. Great stuff.